There we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Omnic Lab. This is going to be episode 130, and we're all set for the Omnic Lab episode 130 featuring Omnic Meta. And that's right, we got Neil, aka SwitchFox, back with us again. We're talking all about Ashe Meta, even though we've been talking about it significantly. And this one's going to be less about the individual hero and more about what she brings to the table with regards to the team comp. And instead of learning her, we're going to be talking more about her analytically with regards to her statistics. So Neil, welcome back to the show. How you been?
Great. Thanks for having me again.
Of course.
I keep getting invited back, so I must be doing something right.
I mean,
no, it's good.
It's a statistical thing you could deduce from getting you onto the show this frequently, right?
That's true. I'm one of the only people that can contribute that type of stuff. It seems like in the community. So no, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the data that I pulled out on Ashe, which I think will kind of shed some light onto why people are playing her. Is it just because she's a new hero, or is she actually good? So hopefully we'll have some good discussion.
Yeah, and my name's Rob. I'm patched in from late night Japan and early morning risers over on the East Coast. We have joining Neil and we have Andres Gomez. What's up, Andres? How's Georgia treating you? Gamers, boys.
It's because we work harder
a few
than
of
people.
them migrated over to LA, right?
No. East Coast works harder than West Coast, so we're just too busy to play games, I guess. Or maybe that's just the old man in me talking.
Shots fired from the Fox. Andres, the chat is saying that you are currently muted, but I'm not quite sure why that is. For the vibe. But let's get through a few announcements since they can actually hear me. So I'll run through the announcements real quick. We have the December game night happening after Christmas this year. So this will be at the 28th of December if you guys are wanting to join us. It will be kind of a decent time period if you guys are around for the holidays and you can hook up a laptop and come hang out with us and chat and play some Overwatch. It would be a great time. We'll enjoy seeing you there. I will actually be able to do this because I'm taking 2 weeks off work. Thank goodness. We've been working some long 6-day weeks this last couple months. So I'm excited to see you guys at another game night, even though my time zone will be crazy. We'll be playing a lot of the snowy Wonderland maps together and probably goofing around a little bit. Additionally, we have our sponsor, Top Score Solutions, joining us as per usual. Ben, aka I Need Peeling, always doing the free business consultation stuff with regards to esports. So this is for anyone. This is for coaches, people starting teams, developing apps and services, boosting sub bases, and even just trying to get into esports. Check him out at Top Score Esports on Twitter and TopScoreSolutions.com on the interwebs. You can just search Top Score on Google and probably find him or his Discord server there as well. And Switch is obviously here for Omnic Meta, so I don't need to promote that because we'll be talking about that all episode. And then we'll also be plugging, if you guys want to find the Humble Bundle monthly affiliate link for us, just type !humble in the chat or in our Discord, and you can find that. It's really, really nice. I was reading there's actually a freebie this month, and I won't spoil it for you because I'm not sure if it's too spoilery for some of you guys wanting to go check it out, but I think it's some like in-game content for a game that you can get. Additionally, there is a scope sensitivity tip guide for migrating your existing scope sensitivity over to Ashe because the scope is differently in the show notes each week. And after this week or after Christmas, I believe I think my whole thing is after New Year's when 2019 rolls around, we're not going to be including this in the show notes anymore because it should be common knowledge by then. But guys, let's talk about Winter Wonderlands, talk about casual stuff, and then we'll get right into the meat and potatoes. So what do you guys think of the new thing? They actually shut down Blizzard World because it was too cool for school and was glitching out on some people. I'm not sure if it's up just yet, but by the time people are listening to this in podcast future land, they'll probably be back up. What do you guys think so far?
I'll let you go first.
I think it's great. I like the new skins. I think that's the cool thing, right? I also like that they they redid Blizzard World. I actually like the maps when they change them, like for winter, right? I personally like that. Not terribly excited. Probably won't play the Yeti Hunt, or we'll play Mace Snowball, Assault or whatever. I'm probably not going to play either of those.
You
not
haven't
me.
been playing those
Not me.
either.
But favorite skins, though, I think Mercy and Junkrat are the two ones that are
Krampus.
Yeah,
I looked up
Krampus and
some
the
stuff
Hooker.
online about Krampus, and that holiday is the freakiest thing since Halloween, man. As far as Origins is concerned, that is a messed up holiday.
Yeah.
Where
I don't know.
is the Krampus from? Is that like German or?
It's from the Eastern, or sorry, it's from Europe. It's a European holiday. I can't remember the specific country that it's linked to. I want to say it's a specific one, but I don't want to offend anyone, so I can look it up real quick. But I'm pretty sure it's from Central European folklore.
Oh, okay.
So that might be Germany / Austria /
like all that area.
Czech Republic, Hungary,
yeah.
Austria, Bavaria, Croatia, Northern Italy.
Gotcha.
It's basically the
it's a little lower than Germany.
It's weird. Oh, also big thanks to Shazir for donating some bits in the chat. He donated 500 bits for the show. Really, really appreciate that. If you guys want to support us, you can check us out on twitch.tv/OmnicLab. Andres, what do you think so far the new stuff?
I think it's the same old stuff. I think the skins are really nice. They always do a really good job. Like Switch said, I like the makeovers. My guess is eventually they want to have all the maps kind of like have the holiday makeover for the events. Some maps I feel like are halfway there. I don't know if I was just looking in the wrong places, but like Hanamura, for example, it looks snowy and it looks changed. But if you look at like Hanamura versus what they did with Blizzard World, for example, like Blizzard World was like an extreme makeover. That thing had like new props.
There are
and
lights
presents
everywhere.
So I think some of the signs even changed and stuff. So I don't know if like they went all out so much that like it kind of broke the map a little bit in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, being now that I'm living in Japan, the Hanamura like holiday adjustment for having a bunch of sakura leaves like littering the snow is just like the weirdest dichotomy, because that's just complete opposite season. That's like after everything is done. It's really weird for me to see all of these cherry blossoms everywhere and the snow. I'm just like freaked out. I'm like, this color palette just doesn't make sense to me. Well, and I understand it's mostly probably to do with the coding rather than a creative decision internally.
Right. Like change those trees might be harder than you think. And those trees might be there for a very specific reason, right? Like some of them provide cover for the windows, so like the people in the windows don't have like a straight shot into like that choke, you know what I mean? So it might be more than just aesthetics at that point. And I don't know if I'd be
building
nitpicky
snowmen on that map,
but like you guys check it yourselves. When you go into Hanamura, just look at the map and see how it looks, and then compare it to like how Blizzard World looks. And it's just like, I don't know if like it looks kind of like half done or unfinished at that point.
Yeah. So if you guys are wondering and you haven't been logged in a while, the skins so far are a biathlon themed Widowmaker skin that got a lot of love so far. There's also a Snow Fox Lucio skin where his dreadlocks actually look like the nine-tailed Snow Fox, which I thought was super cool. There's also no spoilers, but there's a lot of memes around these skins so far that are pretty great for those of you guys out there that are enjoying them. Additionally, there is a Krampus themed Junkrat skin that is fantastic. It looks really cool. And a figure skater Symmetra, which looks awesome. The gun has like these really cool blades on it. And let's see, Mercy has a sugar plum fairy themed skin. And the last one here in the legendary category is Zarya has a snowboarder themed skin with a super cute like hat and polar bear tail.
I like that skin. Out of all of the Zarya skins,
great.
I really like that one. Yeah, the little bear in the head is awesome.
And then there are some new victory poses for toasts. There's my personal favorite so far is actually the Doomfist one, where he kind of just like sits there real proper with his glass toasting. There's also some new epic things in the shop. You have a frostbite kind of Ashe skin called Winter. It's really cool. There's also a Reinhardt festive skin where he has a bunch of bells and ribbons and very gold themed. And there's one more, a gift wrap Bastion that looks absolutely ridiculous, and I love it so much. And then the coolest thing of of this whole set for me right now is the Hammond, where he's biting through the cable and making his wrecking ball into a Christmas tree. That's pretty cool. But I think that's gonna do it for all the Winter Wonderland stuff. Just go check it out. It's definitely not something to worry about too much for competition, but it's definitely something really, really cool to go get your hands on. So if you want to go grab some loot boxes, now's the time. Head on to the arcade, get all those things, grind out some boxes for your week, and then go play some comp. But that being said, let's dive into the Ashe stats. This is what we're here for. So take us away here, Switch. I wrote down a bunch of the highlights for me personally, but I'm curious to be in the mind of the one who wrote the article and actually kind of went through these line item by line item and wrote the article.
Right. So this is on about a week ago, a little over a week ago. I released an article just on stat analysis for Ashe on omnicmeta.com. Trying to answer the question, is she any good? She's new. People think she's pretty fun. She's got interesting kit. She's got Bob. I think everybody loves Bob. Or doesn't like Bob if he falls into a pit because you press Q at the wrong time. But
the enemy team loves that.
The enemy team does do it. Or slap. You see people booping him off the edge, kind of nudging him around corners. That's a crazy strategy, being able to kind of nudge, Bob around the corner so that he can't.
Yeah,
he
like
loses
with
line
your
of
own
sight,
body, like you
anybody.
body him into like.
Yes, you body him. You kind of bump him, nudge him over. Or off of, if he's on high ground, you bump him to low ground or something. Anyway,
Bob gets so much hate. Like you bring that guy out, and he gets charged, he gets slept, naded, like everything in the book is thrown at him. But in a way, that's good. You know what I mean?
He does what he's supposed to do, right? He's like kind of tanking for your team a little bit.
Yeah.
So in the article, I kind of look and try to compare like who is Ashe most like? What other damage hero is she most like? And there's a bunch of popular heroes, at least at the time: Doomfist, Genji, Hanzo, Junkrat, McCree, Pharah, and Widowmaker. Some of those are hit scan. Some of those have a similar aiming style and like damage style, like Widow and McCree. And the article just and the data that I pulled out kind of compares that, compare those heroes with each other. It turns out that Ashe is actually pretty high damage. Actually, is about the same as Hanzo. So when it comes to raw damage output, Ashe is about the same as Hanzo, which kind of makes sense. You can see primary damage of an arrow is kind of about the same as a headshot or maybe body shot for scope for Ashe. And then Ashe, of course, has the additional damage of dynamite. That means that she's substantially above McCree. McCree's primary damage is, was his left click, which is his single shot burst, and then also Widowmaker is her primary damage is scoped, and hers is actually much lower as well. So when it comes to raw damage output, Ashe is really, really up there. You can see why people actually might prefer to run Ashe instead of McCree. Of course, because of burst damage, you get damage boosted by Mercy or have a discorded target. You can one shot 200 HP heroes, which is most of the cast. I don't know if you guys have comments on that.
No, yeah, I do, because I've been playing a lot of Ashe, and she's honestly been my climbing hero. I've been, like last week we talked about it, we've been trying a lot of different heroes. I've been playing a lot of Zen, Lucio, off tanks, but my performance in those is okay, so I usually don't end up climbing too much. I kind of just get stuck at their same rank, just lose one, win one, and kind of like that cycle. And eventually that gets kind of tiring. And when that happens, I'm always like, I'm just gonna go on Ashe. And that's my climbing hero because she feels very impactful in the match. When you're playing her and you can land those dynamites on the enemy team, it's so much raw damage. If you can get like 3 or 4 people, it's insane. And not only that, the dynamite almost forces the enemy team to have to use their cooldowns, which is something that is really hard to do with McCree. With McCree, if the other team is playing right, they're playing behind barriers, they're playing at a distance from you, they're keeping an eye on you so you can't easily flank him and do the flashbang. It's a lot harder to put that pressure, right? You have to sneak in a few shots to make Anna have to be like, I'm gonna use my nade on myself rather than on the enemy team. Or sorry, I have to be like, ooh, I gotta pop my shield right here. Unless she's like 1v1ing you behind her Reinhardt, she's relatively safe, can get a lot of heals. But with the dynamite, you immediately force him. Like Zarya has to bubble when you hit her with that. Or if you hit the Ana, she has to nade herself. If you hit the Zen, he's screwed. He has to like go find his other healer just from that nade. And you could be behind your own shield. You could be really far away. It puts a lot of pressure and it builds a lot of damage really fast. The healers have to scramble to be like, shit, we gotta heal ourselves and our tank or whoever else he hit with his grenade. So I don't know. I feel like her damage output is definitely there and is damage that you can reliably get in and is significant enough to cause a lot of pressure once you get the hang of that dynamite.
So that's interesting, right? So I should back up a bit that this data that I've got in the article is collected from real players and real matches, and the damage comparison is damage, total damage per 10 minutes that we're comparing.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing about that statistic is that comes from Blizzard themselves, and it doesn't break out damage from the weapon, scoped or unscoped, and it doesn't break out damage from dynamite.
Interesting. So it's kind of hard to tell if it's just getting the damage in from the weapon or the dynamite.
Right. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I actually, in playing Ashe myself on ladder and at plat, but and actually watching a lot of streamers, it seems like dynamite is like her part of the kit that's really, really strong. I mean, the one-shot headshots and stuff like that, great. But maybe that's only 50% of her damage. A lot of it's the AoE damage, tossing the dynamite over the shield, shooting it, it explodes, like you said, pushes pressure on Ana and Zen and the 200 HP heroes that literally have to go heal. Like they can't engage now because they've been
exactly
lit up.
Especially if you can save it for really clutch times, like when the enemy team decides to move into a point, you throw that in there, boom, dynamite. There goes at least 1 or 2 cooldowns. Like they have to use him right there, which they could have used instead to engage your front line or to try to get a pick on your healers or any of those. And even on people that are trying to attack you, if you can kind of outsmart them a little bit and bait them into your dynamite, is a great way to have him back off, because it's so much pressure. Like once that thing explodes on you, the first thing you think is, I gotta get out of here. You're not thinking of like, let me just finish off this Ashe or something. You're just like, no, I'm about to be at 50 health. She's gonna one shot me. You know what I mean? A melee hit might finish me off.
Yeah. Thoughts, Rob? What's your experience been?
So for starters, I've already said on the outset multiple times outside of the podcast that Ashe is definitely something that fits in the category of Doomfist or Orisa for me, where it's just like, that's not a hero that I can play or feel comfortable playing. I know that when there was the major issue with her FPS drop with the scope for somebody who plays on high MS, that's a absolute dumpster fire for me to try. Every time you scope in, every time you scope out, I'd lose so many frames between that and the MS drops with the delay. I can't shoot anything. So I don't really feel a lot of the stuff there, because it doesn't just mean that I can't hit people. I can't hit my dynamite. I can't hit my coach gun by coming out of scope. That FPS drop just really screws with me. But I did like it when I was playing at BlizzCon. So that being said, as a major disclaimer, I also don't play a lot of hit scan in the first place outside of Ana. So Hanzo, as you guys know, I've been playing a lot of him. And so I'll be more of the dissenting opinion to compare it with him and his kit. But I do feel like my overall conclusion with how she kind of is affecting meta play is, generally speaking, going to fit in the category of everything that she can do with regards to her damage is similar to Hanzo, where it rewards far level play, like where you're distancing yourself from players. And I felt like there's a lot of times with Hanzo in particular and with Widowmaker where you're definitely using mobility to play aggressively, like getting into these really unfavorable positions to chase something. And it kind of has this ebb and flow kind of playstyle with it that you can kind of feel. And it encourages it at low ranks and why you could die a lot. And then at upper ranks, it's kind of more of the flipping the switch and the decision making. Whereas Ashe's playstyle fits with everything around what she's doing, fits the style of shooting and playing safe. I feel like even with the coach gun, it's like if I'm going to engage, I can engage by spacing myself from somebody else if I wanted to. Or I'm going to use my dynamite in order to create the opportunity to help me play aggressive and thus put them on a bad foot with my positioning. Even if it's bad, they're still taking damage from the dynamite and blowing cooldowns as of, because of the pressure. And furthermore, we'll get into this when we talk about Bob in the later the article, but Bob is similar to a Dragon Strike where you're pressuring the opponents, you're funneling them, right? It doesn't necessarily always do something, but you're not always trying to run it for the damage, whereas it is more of like the surprise and trying to catch somebody off on the back foot or use it to engage and knock them up. Like I said, Bob is the closest thing that Bob to me seems is actually kind of like a mobile version of Torbjorn's old ult, where if you could just kind of like chuck a turret and turn it to level 3, that's kind of what it is. Or like a Hanzo Dragon Strike. Like those two are the most comparative things. And what that means to me is that like you can play very, very safe and get about the same level of value as aggressive play with other heroes. And
That's
so I think that's something really good about Ashe.
That's another part of her kit that is very unique, and I think that adds a lot to it once you start getting the hang of it. Bob is amazing. Like, he is so good at putting pressure in the right places. If you can get into the right position, the enemy team is basically screwed in contesting the point. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you can tell this from the statistics that you get from Blizzard Switch, but can you tell how much damage Bob does by himself, or is it added into the total damage statistic too?
It's added into the total damage statistics.
So that's another big factor because Bob can do a lot of damage by himself. Once you start getting the hang of her kit and you're landing your shots and hitting your dynamites, you can get Bob up pretty fast. And he's amazing because, like what you said, he's a mobile turret, and you can put it in a way that it's cross-firing the point, meaning the enemy team has to either choose to cover Bob or cover from your team. And it's a great position to be in when you're like right about to cap the point or you need to go into the point with your team, because it makes the enemy team split their resources. Not to count that you can still get it in like the other corner of the payload or something to still contest, right? Or another great way to do it is in every point that you need to contest, there's like specific places the enemy team will hide behind and they'll shoot you from there. So what you can do is throw Bob behind those hiding places, and suddenly the enemy team has to be like, okay, we sit here and fight Bob, or we move out of cover and fight the enemy team. And suddenly the enemy team is at a huge disadvantage because they don't have their cheesy, I'm going to hide behind the wall and shoot you with Ana and Zen. Now they don't have any place to hide. So, I don't know. It's like scaring the rats out. You know what I mean? You throw it into the tunnel, the rats come out, and you just shoot them. Pow, 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 pow.
Yeah, there's just so many ways that you could potentially use him, right? He draws so much attention at like a nano Ryan, right? You nano Ryan and you're like, oh, let's get some space so that Ryan can't do anything, right? Can't charge, can't engage. Or he's like the Hammond who's just spinning on the payload, right? Just hooked up to the payload and just spinning, and you're just annoyed. You can't get on the payload. You can't move the payload. You got to remove this opponent, right? That he does that, and just requires some game sense. If you see Ana throw out a sleep dart, drop Bob out there, right? That way he can just get use all of his abilities, be able to damage as much as he can, and not be incapacitated. There's some interesting things there. It'd be great to know how much damage comes from Bob. We'll get to how much Bob contributes to a limbs, which might kind of give us a bit of a picture. But
Oh, okay. He can be really good at like finishing blows. That is for sure. Like people generally are good at avoiding damage from him, but the good thing though is that he makes him blow a lot of cooldowns. I would say Sleep Dart is probably one of the best answers to Bob in the entire game right now. That and Hack, because it totally disables him with one cooldown. That's it. You don't have to touch him, move him. You're good.
yeah,
But a lot of people get really creative with Bob, and you'll see people like Roadhog try to hook him into a position where he's not like as effective, or the enemy Reinhardt try to charge him away from the team. Um, you see a bunch of like cooldowns getting thrown at him. Like sometimes you'll see Anna throw her nade at him to try to like make him purple so he can't be healed. But I feel like any cooldown that's not Sleep Dart or EMP, or not EMP, but EMP works too. But Hack, it's great for your team. Like if Bob takes away that cooldown, if the Reinhardt had to get out of his position to charge Bob away, if the Roadhog had to use his hook to like get Bob into a different position, that is pressure off of your team. You know what I mean? It's free pressure off. It's like, ooh, their team is blowing their cooldowns, dealing with this guy that is not gonna give him a kill, is not gonna give him ult charge, is shooting at them constantly. That is our cue for us to shoot at them freely, move up. Your Reinhardt suddenly can swing the hammer. I don't know. It's a very useful ult that puts a lot of pressure, and it's something you don't find with some of the other heroes. Like a hero that can simultaneously contest the point while being away from the point and getting a good angle on the team. I think it's quite amazing.
So since we've been talking about Dynamite and Bob, why don't we just skip ahead so we don't have to
let's do
have
that.
a big gap? Yeah. So Ashe's abilities. So she's got two abilities that are tracked by Blizzard. Basically, Bob kills and Dynamite kills, and these are stats per 10 minutes. So we'll go back, but basically, Ashe per 10 minutes has about roughly the same amount of eliminations as the other meta heroes, roughly somewhere between 15 and 20. Okay, so 15 and 20. So Bob, across the tiers from Bronze to Grandmaster, is contributing 4 of those. So 25% to 20% of all the kills from Ashe are due to Bob. I mean, that's a pretty big impact for an ult. The ultimate itself is about the same impact as, say, Junkrat Tire, Dragon Strike from Hanzo, Ferris Barrage. So it is a really high impact ult. Compared to other, the only ultimates that are much higher than that are like Genji's Dragon Blade. So that's a really, really big
and
impact.
And you're talking about final blows right now, right?
This is just eliminations. Bob contributing to total elimination.
Okay.
For Ashe. Yeah, and we can talk about final blows to summarize maybe her impact. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys? I mean, do you feel like it's too strong? Do you feel like that's about right? Are you surprised? Do you think people can get even more value out of Bob? What I'm seeing is that it's basically flat across the tiers. There's no skill involved, or very little skill, I should say. Some game sense, but
well, I think anytime I see something with flat, it's like I have to be really careful with how I'm interpolating that, like in active sense. To me, if there's not any difference in the tiers, like if it kind of levels off, and there's not any more than like a 2% or 5% gap between like bronze and GM as far as what's happening when something's being used, it's either like, to me it seems it's either really not powerful, or it's super strong, or it's just like its usability for that specific function isn't necessarily what it's going for. You know what I mean? It's something where it's like it's really good, it's really bad, or it's like that doesn't really seem like that's what the design is for, or they're using it for something more utilitarian than eliminations. If that makes sense.
I don't know. I think the stats seem about right, but I think it's because they're not measuring the true strength of Bob. Like when you look at an ultimate like Genji, this stat is perfect for that ultimate. Like you can really tell like that's what that ultimate is doing, because my guess is at the lower ranks, Genji's blade is not getting enough value as Bob. But as you go into like GM, Genji's blade completely outshadows Bob, because at that rank, the blade is a checkmate move. And usually when Genji's blading, he's not just like blading by himself, he's getting nano boosted. His Zarya is giving him a shield. And the Genji is good enough that he can take out 4 people on average. You know what I mean? He sees 4 people, dashes through them. His nano blade allows him to just like slash dash, kill, slash dash, slash dash. You get the whole enemy team, right? Bob, on the other hand, it doesn't have that potential, right? Like Bob can't make decisions on his own and be like, here's the squishy, let me run to him, kill him, then run to this other guy,
Or
kill him, avoid the
prioritization,
shield.
yeah.
Yeah, he can't do that, right? And for the
Right.
most part, people have the game sense at every rank that if they see a Bob shooting at them, they're gonna get out of the way, right? They're gonna put the shield up, go behind Reinhardt, disengage for a little bit, sleep dart him, like whatever it needs to be done to kind of like stop that threat. But that is his strength. It requires an immediate answer from the team, either disengaging or using cooldowns on him. And I think that's where his true strength lies. The pressure that he demands that takes away from your team. While Genji is more of, I'm self-reliant, give me all the cooldowns, I'm going to get this done by myself.
That's a good point. I think what you're saying is completely true, right? I mean, there is some game sense. You know, you are kind of drawing the attention when you're a Genji who's, you know, blading. But Bob lets you do a lot of things, right? The whole team's behind Reinhardt's shield and they're pushing the payload. Throw Bob in there, he'll knock Reinhardt up. Maybe your Rein can then shatter. You know, you throw Bob in on the payload just to contest because you're the only one there. And he's there with 1,000 health or whatever, and he's there for 10 seconds, right? There's a lot of different scenarios which you can use him, even to stall a point, to set up a shatter, to do all sorts of stuff.
Very flexible, to be honest.
Yeah, that you said is like, it's so flexible. Like yesterday I had a game in Dorado. We're in the second point and our front line died. Both of the tanks died. They were a little too aggressive. They died too soon. And the payload was almost at the checkpoint. It was just me and Anna alive at that point. Everyone else had died. But we knew they had the good spawn. We just needed to buy like a few seconds. And if you were Genji with Blade at that point, what do? Like you go out by yourself against 6 of them. Maybe you get 2 kills. Then they kill you. They cap the point.
They get the checkpoint.
And if you're trying to contest the point on top of that, you're not gonna be able to just blade all over the place and still contest, right? Like their Reinhardt might still cap the point on you while you're trying to kill their Anna that's healing the Rein or something like that. But Bob, perfect in that situation. I just communicated with my Anna. I was like, hey, I got Bob. I'm gonna throw it in there at the last second. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna nano boost him. And to be honest, we threw Bob out there. He got nano boosted. He got slept, naded, everything.
They
fell
just blew
on
all
him.
the cooldowns
They
on
blew
it.
everything. They killed Bob, but it lasted enough time that a Reinhardt was back. I didn't have to go into the point and sacrifice my life to do this. So by the time my frontline was back, our whole team was there. Reinhardt could just go in and engage. They had blown all of their cooldowns on Bob. So our team was like, all right, let's just, we'll use ours on them. And we ended up stalling that point. They couldn't cap it on us. And it was all thanks to, Bob. He didn't kill anybody, but he saved that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, that just shows you how, like Rob said, he's just very flexible.
Yeah, I think personally, like, I think this one for Bob fits that more than anything. I feel like Bob is very approachable as a hero for all skill tiers. I think that's really what it boils down to. The flexibility of what you can do with this. I feel like a lot of the community from Bronze to GM are really parsing it fairly well. And the other thing that's also at play here is that Bob, how people are interpreting like what his usability is or what his flexibility is or how good he is and when to use him and stuff, is that people kind of have the same idea in each of the ranks. whether it will be useful enough at their current tier. So like if I'm in bronze and I'm using Bob in let's say an unideal way, in that circumstance for these players, it's traditionally just going to be good enough because of everyone else's reaction to it. It's just going to be good. And then you go into, gold tier and you're just going to use it because like, well, it's not good here, but it's probably better here. And so you kind of see the skill tier kind of going 1-to-1 with how people are kind of like learning the hero because it is very new. And it's also, I think, also at play, like you guys have been talking about, and I'll agree, is that it's just strong. So there's also that. It's hard to screw something up that's really good. So but let's not beat a dead horse too much with the dynamite kills, but I do want to highlight the big difference there is between a dynamite kills per 10 gap between bronze and grandmaster, because this is huge. It goes from 4 to 7. And that may seem like a small jump for a lot of you guys, but again, you got to remember that this is a stat per 10 minutes. This is not a stat per games thing. So like if you've got these long games going, the dynamite's getting the equivalent value where you're getting 3 more kills every 10 minutes. So if you have a 20-minute Overwatch game, you're getting 14 dynamite kills in Grandmaster versus a bronze game where you're getting like 8. So
and just remember that
nuts.
The way that they count, Blizzard counts dynamite kills is not did you get the final blow with dynamite.
Right.
What it means is
did something die while it's
did
burning?
Something die that was either exploded or set on fire from the dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to look at this is, actually, I was just thinking about this. This is very similar to Anna's bionade, right? Biotic grenade. What happens is you purple somebody, right? You affect the enemy, that way they can't get heals. Same thing with Ashe. So what you find is that these players at the higher tiers are just much more skilled about launching that thing over the Reinhardt shield, launching it at a distance and being able to hit it, because you got to detonate it with your gun.
You want to know the nastiest things that I've been able to observe with this combo is because of the popularity of Ana. You can set up plays with the detonation of this ability to get them to burn. The Zarya then will burn the barriers. Everyone will start running. They'll drop shield to get out to go heal up, and then you can punish by also initiating with a purple Ana grenade. So you're basically burning cooldowns, moving mobility, getting them to blow their defensive setup for a retreat and compensate protection for mobility, and then you punish that by having an Ana in a different position to set it up, and it's deadly.
Now that
it's a good point.
Deadly.
Now that you said that, nade and dynamite together are some of the nastiest things you can do to a grouped up team. It's just nasty. You just reminded me of this game I had with Jay Lee on Horizon Lunar Colony. They were all set up in like the first point above the choke, in that where you can overlook the big choke point. And Jay Lee and I just like walked over. For some reason, the Reinhardt dropped. He was shockwaving. He drops the barrier, so Jay Lee just throws a grenade. And you know Jay Lee, he's amazing with the Ana and stuff.
Miss.
He hits all of them, and at the same time, I saw them up there too. So I just threw a dynamite like above the Reinhardt and detonated the nade. So both of them hit almost at the same time, or like similar timing. And it was hilarious seeing the kill feed. 4 of them died just out of the dynamite plus nade.
And the burn.
Yeah, because like the Ana, the Zen, it was like a soldier, and I think maybe it was another Ashe. We're all behind the shield,
Probably,
and they all died to this combination of things because it's enough damage. And then both of the tanks were super low, so our tanks just like basically finished them off. The fastest cap I've ever had in Horizon first point. Literally, first encounter, we see them up there, throw both grenades, the whole enemy team dies. And we're like, oh, what? We just won that fight out of 2 cooldowns.
You guys have both been playing Ashe fairly a lot, and this is kind of unrelated to the data, but I'm curious because I haven't been able to do any testing with Mercy on Ashe. Is that when the detonation goes off, do you get a damage boost applying to the burn, or does the damage boost only apply to the initial explosion damage, if at all?
I've been thinking about this because I've been boosted while doing the nade, but it's really hard to tell, right? Because most of the time you throw the nade and you hit him, and you don't actually see them. They die off screen somewhere else. But I've been able to get like kills of my dynamite while I'm being boosted, just of the dynamite. Like I throw it, exploded, wait a few seconds, they die. I didn't get any shots on them whatsoever. So
Which have you had any things that felt like you were able to figure that out on your own? I'm gonna try to do some testing this week and see if I can figure it out, but I do need to have somebody with me to go test it.
Yeah, I think we'd have to probably test it. I'm not actually sure because you said two things, right? Can you get damage boost the explosion, and can you damage boost
Can you
the
damage
burn?
And I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be interested to test. We need some
my-
science in here.
What would I expect, or what would I hope? I would hope that.
Yes, explosion, no burn.
Yeah, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
what I would think.
That would seem the most
internally.
fair. Yeah, because the burn is already really powerful.
I mean, otherwise, yeah, I don't know. That would.
That even
a real
just
doozy.
boosting the explosion is still enough to kill a 200 HP hero.
Sure.
So that would be because the explosions, is it 90 or 100? I forget.
I think
it's 100.
I think it's
Or is it
100.
90? Or
I thought
it's
the
like something around
burn
90.
was 100, or am I wrong? See, we don't even.
Oh, you're right.
we
I
don't
think
even
you're
know.
right. I
I'm
think the
pulling
burn's
up on the
100,
stats
and
now.
maybe it's
I thought
85 or
that
something
it was
for the
like
explosion.
Yeah,
the
like
point is
80
that's
or
just like
Burn
something.
is
120,
100.
right?
Burn is 100.
Burn is
The
100, so that
core of
means
the
the other one-
explosion is 75.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
So
total
that
of
means you go from
175. That sounds
75
right.
Right.
But it goes to
So that-
30 if you're outside of the max blast radius, like the very outside rim. It's just not that much.
So a
Burn
mercy
is where the real
damage
damage
boost.
is.
A mercy damage boost gives you what, 100? That's like.
Yeah.
It's pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
And generally, they're not just taking that as a core damage. Usually, you're able to like explode and get a shot off, or somebody else is able to tag them with something. So generally, the explosion feels like it's doing more. But yeah, let's go back. Let's kind of backtrack here with regards to pick rate, because this is always the fun one, right? Because people are like, "Oh, is she being picked? Oh, she's good." It's like, well, is she though? Because she's getting a lot of play time. She's getting a lot of people picking her just because she's new, and then if it just so happens that the win rate is like positive in Diamond, people are like, she's good. You know, it's like, okay, is this the new precedent for if a hero's usability is enough? Like, that's not really how we're going to be going about this. But it does give us an indication when we compare it with other stuff outside of the play rate, right? That's where the real data comes in.
So I've been keeping keeping tabs just on pick rate or usage rate and win rate, and it hasn't changed a lot. So now what's that been? It's been about 2.5 weeks since she's been live now. It's roughly around 25% to 35% pick usage rate, which means that they're chosen on your team that percentage of the time. So like 1 out of 4 times or 1 out of 3 times, you'll have of all the play time that you'll have Ashe on your team. That, to put that into perspective, because I find this quite useful, is a hero is launched, and what's the initial reception, and then does that decay over time? Do people like lose enthusiasm? So Doomfist, for example, started out around 25%, so about the same as Ashe, and then he tanked down to like 10% or like 5% or whatever, because
same with Sombra.
And the same with Sombra, and that. That said, Doomfist, first of all, Doomfist was kind of broken OP on release in some regards, because he had a huge rocket punch hitbox, which means that he was killing people very, very easily. Sombra was probably underpowered at release, but yeah. So this is about right. It's not super, super high. It is higher than. I'm trying to think what Briggs was. I think Brig might be much higher than this. Moira, I think, was about 40% or so on release. So just to give you some perspective, that basically this is about right. Now, it has been, I usually release these articles about a week after the new hero hits live and competitive. So now it's been a week and a half past that, and it's still about the same. So I think that's somewhat a positive sign for her. It makes sense based on what we've talked about. The Dynamite is super effective. You've got a really strong ultimate. And just her primary fire is also strong. She's got a lot of good synergies too.
Yeah.
And she's mobile. So I kind of don't expect that to really wane unless like Hanzo becomes super popular again, some other hero that's kind of
Yeah,
similar.
and even then, you almost want to. You almost can't really compare too much because of the capabilities of running like multiple comps. Are like, well, if Hanzo's just the next in line, then people are the common setup is just going to be run both, you know. And then the other thing that you're gonna have, like you said, Switch, which is like, well, what is the longevity gonna look like with this hero? People are gonna get
Yeah.
bored. Are they gonna burn out, or is it legitimately like a strength weakness thing? And then we have the whole new meta that just kind of kicked us in the teeth this week and kind of threw everyone for a big loop with regards to, Brig and Doomfist in particular.
Yeah,
So
a
we'll
lot
be
of
talking
changes
about that
there.
here in a little bit. But Andres, any other final thoughts here with regards to the win rates here? I wrote down a couple things in this category that let me go down here. The damage per 10 is almost the same as Hanzo's, which I thought was really interesting. Like one of the most interesting stats of the whole article for me personally. And then
Yeah,
on top of that, that 2,500 damage per 10, a little bit higher than McCree, but a little bit lower than Junkrat, seemed to kind of fit the same motif as
Yeah.
Hanzo as well when I've been playing him. It's like, I need a little bit more damage, so I'm going to pick Junkrat. I want a little bit less, but I want a little bit more kill confirm. I'm going to pick McCree. And I feel like she fits that mid ground like Hanzo, right?
yeah. I think she's in a great position right now. I think her pick rate is gonna stay pretty stable. She's one of the heroes that can fall flat very fast if you're not used to her kit and you can't take full advantage of it. She does rely heavily on aim, and you need to practice that with her. If you're not landing your shots, if you're not able to detonate those dynamites in the right spots, if you miss Bob and he runs away to the wrong place, you're gonna feel like you're struggling with this hero real fast. But it's just like Hanzo, right? If you can't hit your arrows, if you're not abusing your vertical advantage, if you're not doing the dragons from the right positions, the hero can feel pretty weak. But once you start getting used to the kit of these two heroes, Hanzo and Ashe to me seem like the two DPS that seem in the best position right now. I'm not saying they're OP because I think they're actually not. They're like in a good place, meaning that they can go up against a variety of team compositions and you don't feel like you're struggling. Genji is great when the enemy team is playing a bunch of squishies with not a lot of like CC, like not like Brigitte, Anna, and some like nightmare stuff that can like really stop you in your tracks. Or the enemy team is not playing something like goats, right? Like a really tank heavy composition, which even if you're a good Genji, you just feel kind of underwhelming because you can't kill anybody with all that healing and health. Um, Ashe and Hanzo, on the other hand, feel like even if they're running like a super tanky composition, like you might be able to tear through that health. You know what I mean? Like Bob, it's an extra body that can get in there against those tanks. Same with like Dragon, right? Like McCree against a ball of tanks is just like, well, can't do anything against like 3 shields and 6,000 HP of health. But Ashe is like, oh, I might be able to do something about that. Hanzo is like, well, I got my dragon, they're grouping up. I might be able to do something about that. So out of all of the DPS, those two seem like they're doing good in most situations. Sometimes you might have to swap off of them, but for the most part, you can run them in a variety of comps and feel good. And especially for the latter, just like if you're just solo queuing, I think they're great picks.
Yeah, the win rates of all of the top popular heroes that you included, Switch, is just super interesting because you see these insane polar swaps that we always see within, Diamond Master, Grandmaster tiers with regards to what the normal, player base from bronze to platinum kind of pick in the average area of that hero is kind of your good staple or stair step up or stair step down, right? And then you get to win rates, and the win rates are very stable across all of them, which I thought was very interesting, not just for Ashe-based statistics. I'm just talking like across the board. Thought that was really intriguing.
Definitely. It is worthwhile to point out that Ashe and even now, I've been keeping track, like I said, since this article came out. Ashe still has very high win rates. She's got some of the highest win rates of the damage heroes. Part of that's because she's new, but part of that's also because, like we've been talking about, she can offer a
She's
lot.
just really
She can
good.
contribute a lot. Another thing that I really want to point out from these statistics too is that McCree's win rates are absolutely garbage. It's something for people to keep in mind. So why is that? Because McCree doesn't have a ton of mobility. McCree basically needs some extra help, right? McCree is great, and of course we'll talk about his changes, but which make him a little bit more viable. But just something to keep in mind: just you have to hit your shots as McCree. You have to make sure that you can
Not
stay
die.
alive, not die because you're dove
Yeah.
by Winston. There's just a lot of bad things that can happen to you. On the other hand, you could pop off and just kill the entire team, right? So just something to keep in mind that in the current meta, McCree, and maybe this will change, like we'll talk about, but he's very fragile. So he's very much a niche pick. Me personally, and one of the reasons I do this analysis myself is because I want to know what's good, and I want to be able to look at the data and make my own conclusions. And this seems pretty clear looking at win rates and some of the damage outputs and impact that McCree is very niche, but he's probably very good when you can choose him. For example, like we'll talk about, maybe if someone's playing Doomfist, just play McCree now, and he's actually.
So let's use that as our jump off point here for kind of talking through supports and then also the changes. Because there's two things that we want to wrap up the show with this week, which is a really good video that Switch was partnered hanging out with, getting some data for Ryan of Overwatch Central to put out a video regarding supports and the kind of hashtag rework Mercy thing that's been going around in some of the pro circuit or streamer community. And within that, we're also seeing the new patch this week with regards to a major setup change for Brigitte and potentially fundamentals of the hero. You're going to have to adjust how you play and how you engage and how you run the hero as at large. And then on top of that, you've got, McCree, like we said, who needs a lot of help and got a good chunk of it that we think may not be enough per se in some people, and others are saying that it's really good, but they're not really sure yet. We don't have enough data. We don't have enough play time yet with a new kit. But McCree used to be the most powerful hero in the game in beta and season 1 through probably season 3 until Beyblade and Anna came out. McCree was one of the most dominant heroes alongside of Widowmaker. So what do you guys think of this new change? You guys are the ones that I'm going to have to lean on here because your resident sleeper Hanzo player doesn't play a whole lot of McCree or really see a lot of value in it to begin with, but I haven't played the new one yet.
Yeah.
So let's go on and just say what the change is, right? So the big change is that for Fan the Hammer, that's what they've buffed. They've changed it from 45 damage a shot to 55.
Per
that
shot.
means 55 per shot. So I think that means that Fan the Hammer is now 330 damage if you hit all the shots as a burst. Anyway, Andres, you were going to jump in.
I was just going to say, I think that they can see the stats too. They can see the damage output Hanzo's doing, Ashe is doing, and the win rates that these heroes have. And then you look at McCree, and the poor guy is lagging behind a little bit. And I don't think it's because the hero is bad necessarily. I just think that the way that Overwatch is being played right now doesn't favor a hero like McCree. McCree was designed a long time ago when even the devs had no idea what endgame Overwatch was going to look like, right? At this point, you don't have any pros. Nobody's playing at the level that people are playing nowadays. You are not seeing the pros do the things they're doing right now. And Overwatch has become a very mobile game, and a game that people have learned is very MOBA-like, and strategies like GOATs have spawned that have nothing to do with aim or, at skilling your opponent like that, but have everything to do with positioning, cooldown management, engaging and disengaging at their appropriate times, abusing things like speed boost, right? All kind of like MOBA components. And McCree has suffered a little bit. And I think that this change is a nudge into his favor. Like, hey, we understand that McCree is not performing exactly as we need to. We need to give him a stronger niche. And I guess that niche is becoming more of a close range brawler, basically. He has almost no long range capabilities. I mean, you can get a bunch of shots in and still kill a Widow, but that's really not your job as McCree. If that's what you're doing, you're kind of like doing it wrong a little bit. Fan is super strong right now. It burns through tanks, it burns through shields. A lot of people are using it quite a bit. A lot of people are saying, "Oh no, we're scared. Mister might right click, might come back." Right? Um, but I think that you have to give McCree something. And for example, Ashe, her biggest weakness is the blind spot she has like right in front of her. If you're battling an enemy at almost melee range, as Ashe, you're gonna have a really, really hard time. If your coach gun is off of cooldown and somebody's on top of you, like a Genji, it's really, really hard to kill them. But not with McCree. McCree has that as his strength. If you have somebody right in front of you, even a tank at this point, you can take him down with him. So I don't know. It's up to people, I guess, at this point, whether you think that's good or that's bad. He still relies heavily on his aim. The majority of his damage will come more at a medium range, and unless you're dealing damage to shields, you're more than likely going to be using your left click. But yeah, somebody gets into your danger zone, you better bet you're gonna be using Fan the Hammer.
I think the changes to McCree, the fact that they buff Fan the Hammer, I mean, it's great for him overall. But what it's done, and I've been watching quite a few streamers who play a lot of McCree, like Kabashi, like Gamebot Calvin. And so all these guys are like, wow, he used to be, very flick, left click dependent, incredibly mechanically demanding, and now you point in the general direction of somebody if they're within 10 meters and you press right click and you fan the hammer, right? Because it's just so much more consistent. And for them, that bothers them. So if you used to really love the dink, 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 style of McCree, headshot, this is going to be a big change for you, because now what you're going to do is Winston's going to jump in and bubble. You're going to probably fire off couple shots. Right. You're going to fire off maybe a couple shots in the shield and fan the hammer. And then, you're going to get the bubble down. Then you're going to fan the hammer, flash, roll, fan the hammer. So then you're going to kill him.
How much is Winston's shield? 500?
I think it's like 500, yeah.
You guys are making me do all this research. Hang on.
Yeah. But the point is, you've now got this combo that's pretty effective. And 55, so a regular shot on a shield doesn't count as a crit, so it's 70 damage, right, from McCree.
600 health barrier.
600? So, okay, so it takes 2 fans. Yeah, basically, because you could do a shot and then fan, roll fan, and that would break the shield.
Well, you're going to get...
If you're 1v1.
If you're 1v1. Hopefully you'll have a little bit of help. So
yeah, and normally you do. But if you're by yourself, yeah.
Right. But so the point is that now you've got this combo. I've seen people, they're not even afraid of dealing with a Reinhardt now. If you have your roll up and your flashbang up, kill a Reinhardt. You can kill a Zarya. You can kill any tank. You can kill any tank.
If you have your cooldowns and you're willing to sacrifice those to sit the tank down, you can do it. But the problem is going to be, is it going to be worth it in that moment for you to blow all of your cooldowns to do that, right? To blow your reload, to blow your mobility, and to blow your stun. Like the only 3 things that you have for engagement as well as mobility is the biggest issue. Like with Ashe, she's just like, majority is like coach gun, okay, I'm going to use it for mobility or I'm going to use it for disengage. It's one or the other. And then they're just going to do everything else. But for McCree, it's like, I've got to commit everything in my power to get rid of this thing. You know what I mean?
That's true, and that can make it a little bit more situational. But I've been playing a lot of McCree, and Hammond's on point. One fan, flashbang, another fan, he's dead. Doesn't matter whether he popped his shields or not. He's basically dead.
And I was about to say that too. Like, is that bad of a thing that if you're that close to McCree, you're dead? Because I feel like
no, I don't think so at all.
I feel like before, before there was no respect. Like you saw McCree, I was like, it's just McCree. I'm a Hammond. Let me just go in there and flip around. Or I'm a Genji. I got deflect, no problem. He just deflect his flashbang and we're
No.
good. And like, there's no respect for McCree, right? But now, people might be calling me here like a McCree fanboy or something. But now, you can't
It wouldn't be
do
wrong.
that, right? You have to respect the McCree. Oh, I'm actually close to McCree. This is really dangerous. I should get out of here. Kind of like when you're in Widow's sightlines. So you see a Widow across the map and you're in her sightlines, the first thing you think is, I better get out of here because this is not my zone, right? Like, this is where she wants me to be. And now it's kind of like that with McCree. And a lot of people might say, oh, but you're fan hammering, you're not really aiming and stuff. I mean, yeah, it's not as nuanced as getting headshots, but is an ability that prevents the enemy team from engaging you in a certain way. So if that's what the enemy team is trying to do, get up really close, and suddenly you have a hero like McCree that is excelling at killing people really fast up close, then that's gonna force the enemy team to might have to play differently, right? Or might have to take that in consideration.
An additional comment to go along with this discussion point is with regards to if Reaper tends to come back into meta, and with regards to Mei becoming less of a niche pick and more of a counter pick these days. There's a significant difference, I would say, within counter picking versus niche picking. Counter picking can kind of have to do with compositions or with maps or both, whereas niche picking is like very, very, very narrow based solutions, i.e., like attack Bastion on Junkertown only. That would be defined as a niche pick. Whereas it's like, well, it's 2 CP, Mei is going to be a consideration. You know, like that's kind of what I'm getting at here. But those heroes have 250 base health. And in addition, with Brigitte's nerf, I feel like that alongside of the new change with McCree is very big, considering that this change also helps him shred armor a bit better and kind of go toe-to-toe with Brigitte's as a matter of fact of who's going to get the stun first and who's better suited for that in the positional battle.
That's another example.
You can really punish her.
It felt really bad stunning a Brigitte and loading your entire clip on her and then still dying to her because you couldn't finish her. Like, she just shields up after that, stuns you, starts healing. If she times the shield right, she can win the battle there, and you're out of cooldowns, right? So I don't know. At this point, like, Brigitte has to think twice before getting near a McCree, which I think is okay. Like, you should be afraid of going into the territory of a DPS. I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. So you basically changed the breakpoint. It used to be that, you know, you flash a Mei and then you fan the hammer. Maybe you missed one shot. Maybe that spread, that randomized spread, barely missed the Mei because you were slightly out of range. That's changed now because they've changed the breakpoint. So now you don't have to hit all 6 shots. Probably only have to hit, 5. You have to hit 5 shots to be able to kill her. So that gives you some error. On the same, what you just said with Brigitte, if she's already got Inspire up, if she's already hitting, right? She's already hitting.
You got to compete against that damage
then
too.
You got to compete against the healing coming from Inspire. So if she's got Inspire up and then, you know, you stun her, you now have to deal like 270 damage or something like that. Which you can't
means if you're
do
hitting
with the
all
old
6 shots, then they are dead for sure.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But before, you definitely couldn't do it, like what you're saying, Andres. It's good for him. Here's the thing that it's a good change overall. Here's the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, and I know that McCree is the is the fanboy. Andres is the fanboy of McCree, but
ban the hammer fanboy.
The problem is at mid-range, because there's so many shields in the game still, you find yourselves at 10, 20 meters, and you're like, I should just fan. You don't end up doing right-click anymore. And that's the thing that kind of bothers me. It's not, you know, within 10 meters, I'm definitely using fan. It's, they've got shield up. I'm going to fan. Then I'm going to fan. Then I'm going to fan. Then I'm going to fan. There's no point of even waiting for someone to drop a shield or something like that, because
it has to do with that reload speed. Yeah,
I think so. I think that's the thing that seems a little bit off, but maybe that's the trade. Maybe he's great at peeling now. I mean, He's got a really clearly defined role.
Mm.
And Doomfist is no problem now. You wait for Doomfist to try to kill Zen, and as soon as he launches him up in the air, you can just stun him in the air because he's got a predictive path for upper. Yeah, he's got to uppercut the Zen, and so you just flash him, and then you can just track and fan him as he's coming down. He's dead.
And it's even more rewarding when you get knocked out because of the other change to his kit now is not just he's losing more damage to Meteor Strike, he's losing more range, which also reduces damage of Seismic Slam, but also if you get uppercut, you're not gonna get knocked and not be able to control yourself anymore. You have a lot more counterplay with regards to this. But I wanna highlight one other thing from my personal opinion on something that bothers me about this is that less about something to do with what Blizzard's doing and more about the difficulty that's in play now that Ashe exists, is that they now need to make a dichotomy between these two heroes to clearly distinguish them from another that isn't strictly ability based. It's more of how does this gun work in tandem with this other one? And then also how does it unique to the other one? Like, is it going to be good in this range? Is it going to be like this? Or are we going to do it this way? Or how are we going to balance the hero when we have a different gun in a different setup and a different identity for a hero? You have lots of different design decisions working both with and against the balance team. So that's something that that Overwatch team is going to have to continually look at every time they want to make a shift in either of these heroes, because they can make them similar, but they can't make them the same. And that's also going to be something that's going to continually need to be in your mind. If you're going to play if you're going to play Ashe, you shouldn't take over that same mentality and approach to positioning and how you're shooting and how you're using each of the individual abilities in your kit to mirror what you do on another hero. That's not the design of Overwatch. They want you to have a unique experience when you pick up a different hero. So that being said, we are running pretty close to time now, but I want to give a quick shout out to Ryan because I really enjoyed this content that you made with him there by giving us some statistics to talk through with regards to the rework Mercy. So I will just summarize it and then get some opinions and we'll get out of here. So with regards to this, they're basically saying the hashtag rework Mercy because for a variety of reasons, the most popular of which would be that she's, the typical thing that we've been hearing for 2 years, which is that she's boring to play. She doesn't have anything that is very skill-based with regards to the healing and the damage boost in particular. And then the Valkyrie is kind of just exacerbating that same play style into the ultimate. And so what people are saying now is that because of the game balance fitting really well, some of the people in the rework Mercy are actually asking to hashtag revert Mercy to original OG, which is the one that was the Mercy hides for 25 seconds, waits for your team to wipe down to 5, you rush in and res 5. So they're asking for the original res the enemy team after a team fight. There's also people saying that she's totally fine, which is I feel is kind of more of the majority of the pro circuit rather than kind of the streamer circuit of pros. And then you also have the other people saying that she's too weak and they're fitting in some camps of buff Mercy instead. So for me, I'll weigh in first because I am doing the summary and I am the resident sleeper support main on the cast. So originally, I have basically learned every iteration of this hero because that's what I played in tandem with Ana to climb pretty much every time, except for this last one on my trip to Diamond. But Mercy's kit, to me, as a mid-tier player, is fine. It is inextricably fine. The only thing that I really dislike is the and I've said this since launch of the new kit, is Valkyrie just doesn't feel right. I don't feel like enhancing what a hero does is good enough quality from what you get with any other hero that exists in the game. Like to me, there's nothing else that heroes get that enhances what they do as an ultimate that is worthwhile. Like, Winston fundamentally changes what he does. It just makes his jump hit harder. He moves way faster. He does that sort of thing. He can jump more often. He loses the capability of something and trades it for the other. And I feel like, honestly, Winston's the only other hero in the game that has something that is transformative in nature that really adjusts his kit enough to kind of compare it to this. And like doing an area of effect version of what you already do is just very boring design to me. And maybe that's where this is kind of coming from, that kind of a camp. But to be honest, I feel like the people complaining the loudest are the ones that are playing her the most with regards to being in the one trick camp, or the people that are playing her exclusively. And I feel like if you're playing something exclusively in the first place, you are going to be the one that's going to be whining the most because you play it the most and you have the most hours on it. And so it's just going to come from it. So honestly, people saying rework Mercy, buff her, or change her, or whatever it is, it's just the people are going to be saying that on any hero, whether it's a buff or a nerf, any patch, or any midway through when you're going to feel like you're not getting enough attention from Blizzard devs, regardless of a hero. So that being said, I feel like Mercy's fitting a really good niche right now, but I do want her to actually get a little bit of a bump up with regards to something. I think a lot of the people like all of the suggestions that we've been getting are just not good enough. And I feel like the team's going to have to find something else. But that's just my initial thoughts here. What are you guys thinking about this? I know not everyone here has been able to watch the video and reach the conclusions and all of that. But
so what's the state of Mercy right now? Mercy is kind of meant to be this. She's supposed to be a low skill floor, right? She's supposed to be easy to get into. You just press left click, you heal people. It has a beam, so you don't have to aim. You can damage boost people. There's a nice. We need heroes like that. How viable does that make her at higher tiers? I'm not sure. If you look at the stats, the thing that's the most important in a lot of ways is how much healing does she do. And you look and you find that Anna is out healing Mercy at Grandmaster. Is that good? I think it seems fine. It means that these Annas and Grandmaster are really, really, really good.
Yeah.
You know? And is Moira out healing Mercy? Yeah, but that's her entire kit. She has nothing else to offer. She can't damage boost. All she can do is heal and maybe damage the other team. So again, that seems fine. What
makes
is
sense, right?
Mercy's? At least it makes sense. What's Mercy's biggest asset? Guardian Angel. And being able to zip around. She's the most mobile out of all of the supports. You know,
and she can
I think
bring people
they've
back from the
retained
dead
res.
too.
Yeah, they've
Of
retained the
course.
res kit.
That's true. I guess I don't feel like that. Having Mercy staying alive almost seems more important to me than Resurrect, but I guess you're right. The reality is Resurrect's still really valuable.
Well,
The
the
thing that's
resurrect can
busted
sometimes
is-
be a mistake eraser, right? Like your widow got picked. Oh, no problem. We got a second try right here, right? Like instead of being
Gives
at
you
a
the
huge
permission to
disadvantage,
be
it's
more
like,
aggressive.
right?
That's true. That's true. It is a really important thing, but the thing that I agree with Rob, that Valkyrie is the thing that seems off. I don't think they should go back to the 5-man res.
It doesn't
I
even
think
feel
that's-
Blizzard-like to me. You know what I mean?
So I was just thinking about it just now, and you know what would be a step in the right direction to differentiate it? So what about that it's an AoE damage and heal combination? So literally you're in Valkyrie, you press either right or left click, and you get both. So at least you get more than what you were offering before. So even if you're only hitting one person, they're getting both. At least that's something a little bit better.
I like the
That'll be
idea of giving her
intense.
more, but I also know how powerful that is. Like giving that capability to everyone also just cheapens what you get with Orisa even further. And then on top of that, it still doesn't solve the solution of enhancing something else instead of giving us something different when you hit Q. That's the biggest problem for me.
I'm totally fine with them just redoing the ultimate completely. But I can say that's the thing that's weak. That's the thing that's weak about her kit. Everything else seems perfect. I can't imagine. I don't think that Resurrect as an ability on a 30-second cooldown seems about right. I mean,
what honestly I think would be the coolest is basically enabling Mercy to be fully aggro. And it sounds super counterintuitive to me, even just saying that. But for any Mercy player that is out there that is basically getting a bad rap for anything. It's just that they're such a passive player and they can't present anything else offensively to the table when they switch heroes. And so what I want to do is reward people for playing Mercy with regards to having that capability within their skill set as a player. So I love the infinite ammo thing. I want the infinite ammo and a damage boost on my own damage. And then I want to have something where I don't have to trade off keeping my team alive. So with regards to what we have with Brigitte, every time I damage something or I kill something, I would love to get a burst of heal just for free for anyone within my LOS. I think that would be nuts.
Yeah.
Or any kind of like leeching effect, like lifesteal that you get with Reaper. I would love to get that leeching effect to just people in my LOS, or just beam people directly to me and show like my position, and because of how much damage I'm able to do, and I can just zip around like the moth that I am. I can fly for free. I love that aspect of Valkyrie. That's the coolest part of it to me. Being able to do that and run around, zip around, kill Widowmakers at will. I killed this one Widowmaker, tilted them off the face of the planet like 3 different Valkyries in a row, and it was just the funniest thing to me. But I would love to be able to heal somebody while I'm doing that. Or because I'm doing that, I would be able to heal as a byproduct.
Maybe I'm in the other camp or something, and maybe I have the unpopular opinion, but I think Mercy is just fine. And I don't think she needs any drastic changes or anything. I think Valkyrie is okay. It opens up a lot of possibilities for you. It gives you omni mobility. No other hero can just move anywhere in the map. Like you can go anywhere, right? Like you don't have, well, it's timed, but it's not like Pharah that you kind of fly a little bit, but you're kind of limited. With Mercy, it's just like, no, you go anywhere you want. I think that alone is incredibly strong. Like you said, she can go on the offensive because of this. She can get an oversight of the team while staying super safe, and still being in an aggressive position. And to be honest, I think her kit in itself is working how it should work for a healer like that. With Mercy, like you said, Switch, it's a low skill floor, meaning that any of her abilities that you need to use don't require like a lot of practice or anything. Unlike Anna, if you want to heal as Anna and you want to heal effectively, you have to put in some hours of practice. You have to get good at your shots. You have to get good with your timing, good with your positioning. These are things
and
that
GA dancing.
These are things that you can also improve with Mercy, but you can improve them at a much faster rate because they're not as demanding as they are with Hannah. And like Switch said, you only start seeing Anna surpassing Mercy at the higher ranks. You start seeing a big difference in Diamond, I think, when the pick rate of Mercy starts going down a little bit and the pick rate of Anna starts going up, because I feel like that's the crossroads in which players are getting good enough mechanically, good enough with the game sense that they can start seeing the advantage of taking Anna over any other healer or over Mercy. And I think that's okay. I think that if you buff Mercy, then you end up with what you had before in Overwatch League, where amazing players like Ryo Jaehong, what an incredible Anna, were on Mercy because it's just outright better number wise. You know what I mean? There's no point of going Anna even if your mechanical skill is there, because Mercy can do it. They finally got it to a point where if you're mechanically skilled with Anna, you can do better than Mercy, just because of not only the healing is not like even that big of a factor. I think is the fact that your kit offers more than healing at all times. You have this sleep dart, the grenade, all of this stuff. This is just too useful to pass up if you can also output enough heal as Mercy. So I don't know. I think it would be cooler if they just keep adding more healers. We see more of a variety, and Mercy just stays as a very accessible healer, that if you're not even a healer person, you could jump into Mercy and be good. You could fill on her, and she still has a lot of room for improvement. When you see a Bronze Mercy and you see a Master's Mercy, there's not even a comparison. Like they're clearly have improved and haven't got better as a hero. So I don't know. I think she's in a good position. Maybe a lot of people are gonna be like, "No, Mercy needs some more work," but I think she's good.
All right, Switch. Wrap us up with anything you like with regards to this topic or anything from your website, and then we'll get us out of here. But the stat guy gets final word as far as I'm
I get the
concerned.
final word.
Yeah.
So big takeaways. I think that Ashe, if you're a DPS player, you should definitely be playing Ashe at least somewhat. You should know how to play her because Bob offers a lot of utility. She's got a great ultimate. I think Dynamite is an incredible ability, probably one of the best abilities an offense or a damage hero can have. When it comes to talking about the other heroes, so Brigitte, so she got nerfed. Doomfist got nerfs. McCree's buff to Fan the Hammer, I think, is actually a pretty big change for him. It kind of changes his role, as we've talked about. Makes him more of a close range brawler. Don't get next to McCree is, I guess, the big tip. And finally, I guess, chatting about Mercy. So Mercy, her stats, her actual raw output as a healer seems about right. Her win rates also seem about right. She's just not popular right now, which is okay. She'll be popular again. I think that's my final thought.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Mercy has a lot of synergies. She's not a hero that's been abandoned, and right now the meta really favors Anna. But pairing up Mercy with the right heroes like Ashe, Pharah, Widowmaker, Bastion, like she's still the go-to
As
healer
long as
for
you're
a lot of
looking
these
to her
guys.
for a utility role, then she's gonna fulfill that. But if you're looking her for more, like to fulfill like what Moira and Ana can do when you try to climb out of gold and platinum range, like in the mid tiers when you're trying to make that transition, you need to be looking more to value your damage and value that resurrection and value your ultimate use on Mercy rather than just the healing output and being the core healing unit for your team, because Mercy doesn't fulfill that role anymore in the game, at least for now. So, we've got to get out of here, guys. It's super late for me, and I actually have to work on a Saturday tomorrow. So let's get going. We don't have any new iTunes reviews this week, but that would definitely help us out. If you can do that for us, please log into your friend's phone, steal it, go to the iTunes store, type us a nice review, and say, "I stole my friend's phone." No, I'm just kidding. But please do that if you can. Leave us an iTunes review. It helps us out, warms our hearts, increases our chances in the iTunes store to get in that top slots and to just hear from other realms of the globe. We also want to thank some people over at patreon.com/OmnicLab. We are still continually looking for more patrons and things that we can do for you guys. I'm still, like Andres and I'm not sure where you're at, but we're still recuperating in my family from BlizzCon with regards to finances, and so every bit still matters. And it does help us continually keep the lights on here for the show and keep us motivated. You guys also, it's really interesting how this works out, but the ones of you that are Patreons right now, whether you're Diamond or whether you're $1 an episode or 50 cents an episode, doesn't matter. You guys have like pretty direct access to Andres and I on the regular with a unique channel in our Discord. You can send us messages on Patreon and we get back to you like relatively quickly, within, I would say, less than a week at max, and
A couple of days
like
at max.
sometimes within a couple hours.
Yeah.
So please reach out to us if you're a patron, you want to chat. We would love to talk to you and get to know you more. We love to get to know the people that are in the Discord at large, and patrons just have that much more of a priorities. And especially those of you on the Diamond Squad, we have Top Score Solutions, Anthony E. or Silver Loki. We have Solo on PS4, Jan Jinkle, Durandal, Roger B., Britness, Shazir, Chris DePlaya, Tragic Zach, and Lysum. You guys are great. And if you guys want to support us at the top level, you can get a sponsorship role and get shouted out every week. And if you are joining the crew for the first time, like our good friend Michael M. is this week, you can get a shout out on that episode. If you guys want to find the show, please head over to omniclab.com or search Omnic Lab. You can find anything you're looking for, including merch, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and just the Discord link. That's going to do it for the show. Switch, please tell people where they can find your data and what's on the horizon for the next data analysis.
So you can find everything at Omnic Meta's website, omnicmeta.com. It's also on Twitter at Omnic Meta. There's going to be a new article because of these changes to Brigitte, Doomfist. and of course McCree. So that should be out maybe Monday or Tuesday. It depends. Also, I am continuing to work on the stats server. There's going to be some better mobile support hopefully coming in the next week or so that'll make it look nicer and not so ugly and make it more usable. People have been asking for a lot of features there. So the stats server is going to continue to get a lot of work because there's a lot of things I want to put into it. I'm hopefully going to be merging a lot of the analysis that I do for the articles into the server so that people can look it up whenever they'd like. That's ongoing. So yeah, check it out. Other than that, you can always just email me as well. You can find the email on the Twitter if you have any ideas or have any questions or just need help with the stats server.
Also, slight reminder, if you guys are interested in supporting creators that are new or creators that need ad revenue, please whitelist their websites with regards to the ads so they can get support, because that is the only way they get financed outside of Patreon. And consider supporting him on Patreon as well. There's always a link on the website at the bottom of the page or on the main page. Andres, where can people find you?
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. And also shout out to Bibsy for the Twitch Prime. Really appreciate it.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the tag not Rob, and I will see you guys online this week. If you guys like Hearthstone, we'll be talking all about that on ValensChosen.com. And I'll be playing a lot of D&D this week. We got a murder mystery with my group going in our campaign right now. So if you guys want to talk D&D, you want to talk Super Smash Brothers, I've been playing a lot of that with some of the folks in our Discord, and we'll swap friend codes and play. You can probably smash me pretty easily with my net code over here in Japan. But you guys, remember, don't be a lab rat, be a scientist. We'll see you guys next week. And remember, check your data. Go to Omnic Meta. See you guys.
An active chat today. Thanks for coming, guys.
Stats Fox.
I hope the Mercy players don't come after me on Twitter. Andres hates Mercy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I got my monologue in about Mercy. It used to be once an episode. Now it's like once a meta.
I have nothing more to teach you. The rest you must learn for yourself. Walk in harmony, my student.
Bye, guys and girls.
Thanks, everyone.